welcome to another edition of Behind the Bench. I am Rocco Granado from InLacrosseWeTrust.com, and with me, as usual, is Gary Groove from WaxPhilly.com. Gary, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Rocco. I'm doing well. Still recovering from 30 hours of no sleep in Saskatchewan, but, it was well worth it.
Well worth it as well. And by the opening song, we crowned a champion in the NLL Cup. For those that do not know and have been living under a rock, the Saskatchewan Rush defeated the Rochester Nighthawks 15-10 in game number 3. And I actually went perfect in the finals. Every team I picked lost. Every time I picked the game, that team lost.
Nothing to say about 100%, right?
Yeah. I mean, I picked Rochester in the first game, they lost. I picked Saskatchewan in the second game, they lost. I went with Rochester in the third game, they lost. So I was perfect.
Yep.
But Gary, you were there. Okay.
I was.
The game started out, nothing but defense. Okay, from what we could see here. Saskatchewan and Rochester both had their sticks up in the air.
Interesting, though, because I'd say the more chances in that first quarter was to Saskatchewan. I think they had more opportunities. Yeah. I think Matt Vince was just playing that great.
Yeah, he was. But
I also noticed that Jeremy Thompson, he made a number of errors, and near the end of the quarter, he finally got burnt on one. So there are a lot of little factors going on that the TV wouldn't have picked up.
No, but it was you're looking 1-0 at the end of the first quarter. Okay, with both these offenses that can put the ball in the net, so that tells you a lot about the goaltending in this game until the second quarter arrived.
Yeah, then it kind of went upside down, inside out, didn't it?
Yeah. Saskatchewan starts off with a 4-goal run. Started off by Champion Cup, or NLL Cup, I should say, MVP Jeff Shattler, a very well-deserved award for him, where he started.
He just put the team, even in the loss the week before, he put the team on his shoulders.
Yeah.
He went to town. Some of the goals he scored they're just amazing.
Yeah.
Very seldom you see him box the elevator shot and hit to score. Let alone the fadeaway stuff that he was doing. It was incredible watching him play.
He was just firing on all cylinders, and maybe he was also trying to make a statement that he wants to stay on this team next year.
Well, I think that's a given, but the other one that was the big is he had a couple of goals from Marty Dinsdale, and when you're shutting down guys like Church, guys like Matthews, then you have guys like Marty Dinsdale that come up.
Yeah, well, Church didn't get a single point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. He just did not score a goal. He did not even record an assist. They had him on lockdown big time. But they forgot, a couple other people on this team. Other than Shattler, you're looking at the captain, Chris Corbeil, had 3. Curtis Knight, who came back in, who was at Game 2 healthy scratch, put in 2 goals himself, along with Ben McIntosh. So,
Well, I think the big thing it was funny because Saskatchewan would pull away, and you'd think that this is where it's coming, and then Rochester would catch up on some really freaky, fluky goals.
Mm-hmm.
That there were a couple of times when you just wondered, wow. And then at one point, it's funny because when Rochester took the lead, there wasn't anybody in the SaskTel Center that was concerned. They just had a feeling in there, and lo and behold, here it came. And really, when you look down to it, the answer is this: you had a real potent offense against a defense that is slowly aging, that was banged up, and it just was a little bit more in the Saskatchewan tank. Mm-hmm. Hence the last 6 minutes of the game.
Right.
where there's only so much that Vince could do.
Yeah.
When the defense started breaking down and he's left to fend for himself, he didn't stand a chance. And bang, there was 4 more goals that went in.
Now, do you think...
Better, sorry.
Yeah. Now, do you think with Sid Smith being out for the whole for the finals could have had a little bit of an effect? I'm not saying that he would have made a difference, but...
I don't know about the play-wise, because if anything, it kept them out of the box.
Right.
So,
but as far as defense...
That was the answer, because there's another aging veteran.
Right, but...
With it being 100 degrees on the field, because it was warm in there.
Yeah, but you're looking at him as opposed to having Frank Brown in there. I mean...
I like Frank Brown, and I think he's an unsung hero. He did an awful lot away from everything.
Right.
I think we're going to hear a lot of him and from him in the next number of years. So, no, I don't think that would... I think that would be a fair enough trade-off.
Yeah. No.
What I had heard is that Sid Smith, we won't see him in MSL either. It sounds like on the good knee, the ACL went.
Whoa.
But there's been nothing confirmed about that.
Nothing confirmed, right. And, you look at, if you hear, Jake Withers went 23 for 29 on the faceoffs, Thompson went 6 for 22, and Messenger went 0 for 6, you would think, Rochester, had a ton of possessions and,
But what I was noticing was that they're jumping almost on purpose, already planning that they're not going to win this face-off. And instead of being caught out of position, everybody was in position.
Was already in position.
Got the ball. So I think that the Keenan already had planned for such an event. So, take it as you will, but they really weren't able to capitalize on winning all those face-offs.
No, I mean, between that...
obviously, in my eyes, that's what Keenan had, up his sleeve.
Oh, yeah, he had something up that sleeve for this game.
Well, that's probably the best way to negate a lights-out face-off, man, is let him win the face-off, and you just get in position. Just get in position,
right.
Yeah, to do with Snyder, the same thing.
Yeah, because they're going to call the face-off violation. The ref's going to pick up the ball, toss it to you, reset everything, and you go. And by that point...
Either you've got the right men on the field, or you got the guys in position on the field.
Right.
And it worked most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, Rochester came back, they made it 11-10, but then, Curtis Knight comes up with that big goal, Ryan Keenan, and then, talk about Matty Dinsdale. And then, of course, the captain, Chris Corbeil, throws in the hat trick with the empty net goal.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Vince make...
Considering all that went down at the end of the last year's game.
Yeah, and Vince, you saw Matt Vince make a diving attempt at it, and...
There was a slew of saves in the first half that just absolutely blew my mind because Vince lost his mask in the middle of it all. And never lost concentration.
No.
The saves that he made there, we sat there and we shook our heads because it was basically in front of us because we were on the restraining line. And it was unbelievable to watch Matt Vince when he's zoned in. But again, when you don't have the defense there, going and picking up your extra men, getting the ball out, not having breakdowns, you can't rely on him solely. There's just too much firepower. There's too much ball movement. There's too much of a dynasty team there to leave it to one man to try and stop it.
Yeah, and
if he did that, the next thing he's going to do is walk on water. It was just incredible, though.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the penalties here.
You had to commit, basically you had to commit felonious assault to get him in the box.
Yeah, it was a very well-called game. I mean, you had a rough and a slash. Mitski and Jameson went off at 4:17 of the second. And then Eric Fennell went off at 7:53 for a hold. And then Fennell had a dead ball foul at 9:42, and then Dinsdale served the bench minor for too many men on the field in the fourth. But it was very, very well called, and I'm shocked with Gardonio being out there as well.
But the Fennell call that was just a bonehead play. He got goaded into it and he fell for it.
Oh yeah, big time.
That was just after a Rochester goal.
Yeah.
And Billich was able to goad him into it. he took the bait and he sat down, and not very much longer after that was the power play goal.
Minute and a half. Yeah, minute and a half later.
Turnaround game.
Yeah, minute and a half. Schattler scored to tie the game up, and then 27 seconds later, Corbeil scored, and then a minute later, Dinsdale scored, and that made it 10-8. And they never looked back at that point. I mean,
no. And by that time, the Saskatchewan Center was rocking, and everything that made that home field advantage was in play.
Yeah, I was gonna. What was that atmosphere like? That I mean, you could hear it on TV. You could hear how loud it is. Yeah, it's just the fans. I mean, everybody was just really into it, as they as well they should be.
Well, we were there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for the rallies and that too, and there for the bus for the players to arrive and all the other things. So there's all kinds of things going on. Now, granted, people were diving for shade because again, it was 90 degrees there in the prairie's dry heat. So it was warm, and I'm thinking that a lot of people are wondering if they should rethink having a black third jersey. It may work when it's minus 20 outside, but my God, when it's the other way around, they're some warm.
Yeah.
I figure I go to Saskatchewan to catch a tan. Try to put your head around that one.
Yeah, right. And then,
but I got it. Everybody in Saskatchewan was fantastic in Saskatoon. It was amazing. It was great to see everybody again. It was great after the game because the team came into Radisson where they normally would have their post game. They came in with the cup. They spent about half an hour in there, and then they went off to the partying adventures that they were going to do. But just the fact that they would come back into the place where they had their post game every single game was class move.
Well, they should, because that's where that's one of their. I guess you could say it's one of their sponsors. If that's the hotel they're staying at, they're getting a certain rate. They should be returning back there, whether it's for 15 minutes.
Not so much that, but the people.
Right.
It's the people. And, we were celebrating Grandma Rush's 87th birthday, too, because it hit at midnight of that night, too. What a way to celebrate.
Yeah. One hell of a gift. And I saw the one picture of her holding the cup. Mm-hmm. They have her holding the cup, and, one of the players are behind her, making sure, she don't drop it or, it falls on her head. God forbid.
Yep.
But yeah, I know she was very happy, which is fantastic.
Mark, he was also showed that you can actually drink from that cup.
Yeah, a totally different way of drinking from the cup.
Well, it's more of a shotgun from that thing because of the length of it. But
well, now wait a minute, Gary. Now you were there. Now I was watching this on TV. Okay. Now when the game's over, the confetti's going. You see them bring a table out, and you see 2 boxes. Somebody's carrying one. A girl was carrying one box, and somebody was carrying another. Okay, you see them put the base of the trophy on the table.
No, that was a platform to put the trophy on.
Well, when I saw it on TV, they didn't carry the whole entire trophy out.
Yeah, they did, and I put a video of that up on our site, which is actually a very close.
It only looked like part of the trophy, and they put the rest on top.
No, the trophy itself went on this pedestal. That's all it was. No, it's a one-piece trophy.
Because it didn't look like it the way they
can't have a 2-piece trophy because there's no way it would survive the after effects. What you've seen in the pictures is exactly what came out. And it came out with two Mounties, so it looked like the Grey Cup was coming out as well. So they did a good job of bringing that out.
Yeah, it just looked like they just... It almost looked like it was snapping back in.
Yeah, no, it was a mirror pedestal just to make it look that much more. And it was also for show. So everybody could get their camera shots. But when they handed Corbeil the trophy, that was just it, the trophy.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where...
It was a great feeling in there. Everybody had a great time. You had 13,500 or so people in there. It was a loud building.
Yeah, I mean, that place was...
Yeah, it was rocking.
Yeah, I mean, I had my volume not even up that loud, and it was, really coming through. But yeah, that whole entire game, like you said, they just took it over when they needed to. 6-4 at the half, and they just, kept it at that point.
From the pregame ceremony too, they know how to put a pregame on as well. So, you had the choppers out there. You had Hulk coming out in a chopper. You had the other mascot driving something else, and you had a lot of monster truck going on, and it was a lot of good things going on.
Mm.
Those green things that we were all given, they all worked out very well.
The light sticks, yeah.
Yeah.
You saw that, and
different types of light sticks too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a solid game by the Rush. I mean, you look down the score sheet. We mentioned Curtis.
Now, there was a really interesting and controversial play in this game of a disallowed goal. When the net got knocked off,
right?
But actually got knocked forward. So even though the ball was going into the net was nowhere near the line. Now, when the net gets knocked off, by rule, they go with a virtual net of whether it would go in.
Where the line is, right.
Where the line is. But here's the loophole, and we watched it live, is if the net's moved forward, and the ball would have gone over that line, but the net stopped it by going into the net, which was 1.5 feet over the line, how do you do that? Because there's nothing in the rule book that covers this. Right. And I don't think it would happen enough that they would have to make a rule about it.
No, what the announcers were saying was that maybe they decided that it was no goal because if the net was actually in place, the shot would have went wide.
Well, we were all talking about it, your announcers. We were talking about it more afterwards, and we come up with inconclusive things because, again, there's no way of telling where that ball would have gone.
Yeah, they were just going by the angle that it was, and they moved the net.
It's a speculative move.
Yeah.
And it puts too much on the shoulders of an official trying to tell the future or the past.
Right.
So inconclusive would have been the answer. But it's an interesting event because, of course, Mike Hazen challenged it, and that's when it would come to fruition. But we're almost wondering, can you challenge it? Because, again, you're going on total speculation of where things might be, could be, should be, if impediments weren't there.
Yeah.
Because if it hits a stick, then there's no problem. But it hits a net that normally wouldn't be there. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's something where they're deciding, where it went in at. It touched the part that was away from where. Because if you look, when the net moved, there's actual spots where the net rests on. So when they showed the replay, you can see where the ball hit. Obviously, it hit inside the net, but the net was in front of the line. But where it hit at, it was a good foot and a half away from where the post would have been situated if it would have stayed in place.
It also helped that we had Captain Inconclusive as the head ref.
Yeah.
The number one ref to come out from the penalty box after spending 10 minutes in there and tell me it's inconclusive.
Inconclusive.
On most plays. Which makes me wonder what he's watching. Cartoons?
Probably.
Who knows?
But yeah, I mean, it was just, like I said, it was a solid game. Jeff Shatler with MVP. 4 goals in game 2, 4 goals in game 3. Ben McIntosh with 2 and 4. Dinsdale with 2 goals. Corbeil with a hat trick. Knight 2 and 2. Rubish gets in with 2 assists. Mark Matthews, no goals but 8 assists.
Well, he did what he had to do. He was a quarterback.
He is a machine.
Yep, he's a quarterback of everything there. Everything runs through him. That's why the team ran better with Dawson not on the floor. Because they could get more out of Curtis Knight playing in that position than Dawson, because you didn't need a second quarterback.
Yeah, I remember when he came into the league, when Matthews came in, They thought he was going to be the next big thing to be scoring goals like they were going out of style. And here he is just throwing assists.
He figured out what his role is and how to do it, and very well at that.
Yeah,
he can score as well as anybody.
Yeah.
But his role is to set it up. He's the point guard in basketball, and everything runs through him.
Through him, right. And when you got players like Church and McIntosh out there, you know.
As long as accurately passed, let them do all the dipsy doodling by the net.
Right. You know, you got McIntosh, Church, and now, with Shatler on the team.
Mm-hmm.
That's high powered. And Ryan Keenan, you can't take away from the coach's son. He's been playing.
Same thing with Dinsdale and all the other ones. You know, as soon as you key on one, you've got 6 others you got to worry about.
Exactly. Even though, granted, they all can't be on the floor at the same time, but
no, but you can put 5 of them out or 4 of them out there with Matthews.
Yeah.
And it's going to give any defense in their fits. Now, rumor has it that the ones leaving from Saskatchewan will probably be Knight and Sorchetti, which are both really, really good players, but more replaceable than some of the other pieces in that puzzle there.
All right. Well, we're going to get it.
And with a lack of first-round picks that they have, I think they'll be able to find somebody.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that shortly. But when you look on Rochester's side for their stat line, Jameson had his hat trick, with 1 assist. The big shock is Kyle Jackson. No goals, but 3 assists. Josh Currier, another 4-goal game. Yeah, he had a 4-goal game.
There's some weird ones that went in for him, but I guess you got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky, right?
Yeah. Joe Restars finally scored a goal in the final. Austin Shanks got 1 with 5 big assists. I mean, that's.
Mm-hmm. He had a good game also. He was all over the place.
Yeah. But unfortunately, we can only have 1 winner.
And the one leaving out of there is the one who did nothing in this thing. That would be Vitarelli.
Right.
Completely invisible.
Yep. 4 shots on goal, no loose balls. He turned the ball over 1 time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Rush did what they had to do, and 3rd time in 4 years for them.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of shows that maybe last year was a fluke, and think about it.
Last year, and then the first one to admit it was Keenan, also Corbeil, is that they went in overconfident.
Right.
Because they had such an easy time in the season that they went in overconfident, and Georgia handed it to them. And this year, right from the word go, they had a chip on their shoulder, and it didn't come without bumps in the road, of course not. But this team, it had one mission in mind, and it was able to achieve that mission.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they would have won it last year? It's very possible they could have been four in a row.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but I also think that they're going to be around probably until 2025.
Yeah.
They have enough first-round picks in the next couple of years, and with Keenan, he's going to trade stuff off and get other things back in, so he's going to keep it replenished.
Yeah.
So, they're going to be scary good for a little while yet.
You want to know what this team reminds me of? And I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not. The Toronto Rock team that went from 1999, or 98, I should say. No, 99, all the way to 2002, where they won 2 in a row. Then the Philadelphia Wings won it in 2001, and then they win 2 more.
Yeah, I brought that up last year, and Grandma Rush kicked my butt. So I don't go anywhere near that one, thanks.
That's just what it reminds me of, Just how that was. But now, the big thing is, it's official that all the teams have their protective rosters handed in. Okay? Like I talked about last week, we were told by the commissioner that everybody would have to have them handed in the Monday following Game 3. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, for this reason.
It's July 2nd, so I'm not sure about that.
Right, because before we get into that, on Tuesday, on June 12th, the Philadelphia Wings had their jersey unveiling. Okay? They unveiled their jersey. Black jersey trimmed in red and gold with silver wings on the shoulders. Everything. Looks really great. You can get them online right now. Okay? $99 for a plain jersey and $129 for a customized jersey. Everything is stitched on. There's no silk screen on the logo. Okay? It's a raised logo. I asked that before I ordered my jersey.
Raised logo and raised numbers, or just raised logo?
Raised logo, raised numbers.
Nice.
Just like a regular jersey.
That's only about 400 Canadian.
Yeah, it's $129 American money, and depending on how you want it shipped to you, it's either going to cost $8 or $12 if you want it regular mail or UPS. So, but it's not a bad deal because the last time the Wings were here, you can get those jerseys with the players' names already on the back and their numbers, and the logo would be silk screened on. That was going for $160. So this is a big price drop for it.
Right.
I already ordered mine. I got my number 18 with my last name because I'm not waiting for a player to be picked. I want my jersey. I figure worst case scenario, if there's a player that I like, I'll get the home jersey when that comes out. Which I don't know what those colors are going to be. I'm thinking white instead of the black is the base color, but so I'll wait for that. But here's why I'm saying about what the commissioner said with the final two teams handing their rosters in on the 11th, when at the jersey unveiling, I talked to two people. One was Coach Paul Day. Okay, he went around, talked to the fans that were there and everything, and he told me that on July 2nd is when they'll get the list. Because right now you got players that are coming off injured reserve. Then they have to throw them on the practice squad and then sign them from the practice squad onto the active roster. So you have all that going. So that's what makes me believe that none of these rosters are actually handed in yet. Okay? That they're probably all going to have to be handed in probably by the Friday before July 2nd. Probably by the end of the month. Because you're talking about, Sid Smith's going to be on, long-term IR. If it turns out it is the ACL, or this person coming off the IR and put him on the active roster and moving this player around and making a franchise player out of somebody. Which leads me to the second person I talked to. It was reported by, I'm probably going to screw his name up altogether, Brad Chandler out in Vancouver. He usually does the games with Jake Elliott. He put up on Twitter on Sunday night that New England Black Wolves have franchised Kevin Crowley. Nowhere else on any other lacrosse outlet, NLL.com, Inside Lacrosse, anywhere, has it reported that Kevin Crowley is franchised by New England. But I talked to Kevin Crowley because he was there at the jersey unveiling. And I said to him, my exact words to him were, Kevin, you would look nice in one of those jerseys. He goes, well, it ain't going to be anytime soon because I was just franchised last night. So.
Well, it's not an impossibility, but it's going to cost quite a bit.
Right, and that's all.
Are they willing to do that for an aging player, even if it is Crowley?
Right. I mean, he came into the league in 2011, so he's getting ready to enter year 7, year 8. So, it all depends on what New England would want. And when you franchise them, it's only for a 1-year deal. So.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I honestly think that there's better out there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there is. I'm not saying there's not. But being a franchise player, the contract's for 1 year. So maybe you get him the following year, or as a free agent or something. If you want. But we don't know. We haven't seen anything else official. Okay, I heard from him that, he was franchised by New England. So we'll have to see what, all that'll come out when the rosters are, who's protected, who's not, who's a free agent, who's an unrestricted free agent, who's restricted, and who got franchised. So there's a lot of, moving around right now. People just have to realize that everything else is still the same. You can protect 11 players, 5 offense maximum, and 6D, or 5 offense, 5D, and a goalie. It's up to you whether or not you want to protect the goalie.
8D and 3 offense, depending on where you are.
Right. Yeah, it all depends. But the max offense is 5.
Offense 5, but there is no max for defense.
Right. And I remember the other. I think it was last week, or it might have even been game 2. After game 2 happened, after the coin toss, I told you that there was things going on the fan club page and everywhere else that Philadelphia fans were upset because now we're not going to get Trevor Batiste, the face-off specialist out of Denver. When I said that to Paul Day, he looked at me, he laughed, he goes, "Yeah, I saw that." And his words were, "Batiste at best could be a late 4th round, early 5th round pick."
I agree. I don't think it's a necessity.
Right. And he said
prove that you don't need to go full.
Yeah. And he said there's going to be other players out there that I can get for face-off specialist. I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "I know of 2 of them." I said, "I don't know if they're going to be left unprotected." I said, "But," he looked at me and he was like, "Okay, who are you thinking of?" I said, "Well, one, you coached the one player." I said, "Dylan Evans." He goes, "Okay." Now whether or not he's a free agent or what have you, not sure. But that's one player I would like to see, other than like the obvious, the Jeremy Thompsons and players like that. I said the other one, I said, is out of Toronto, and he started smiling. And I mentioned Brad Cree.
Right.
I said he would be my first choice. And he just kind of looked at me. He goes, "Maybe you should be the coach." I'm just like, well, he's
a good choice, and he'd have the same idea as Messenger, really, being a big enough guy to hold someone's hands down if he's losing.
Right. And another name popped into my head just a little while ago. Now, whether or not he still has it in him, I don't know. Or whether or not he's going to be, left out there or a free agent. Bobby Snyder.
Yeah, but again, you're looking at someone who's up there in age now.
Right.
And if he couldn't crack the lineups on a steady basis on teams that didn't have face-off guys, really?
Well, if he's a free agent, maybe you bring him in. You never know. You have a second guy out there.
Yeah, it's possible.
Possible.
I think that there's other options, better options than him, but, anything's possible, I imagine. The only person I think is still looking around for a face-off guy, or your Fogel, is Steve Govett. He's the only guy who still buys into it, and from what you're telling me, what you're talking about with Paul Day, I don't think he's convinced on it anymore either.
No.
There's many ways around it. Lots of teams have done many things with very little face-off help. It's great to have those extra possessions, yes, but it's not be-all, end-all, proven last weekend.
Right, unless you have, somebody like in... Even
still, Jake Withers winning, 80% of the face-offs, and that still wasn't enough to overcome.
Right, but if you get somebody like you used to have a Jeff Snyder, who can win those face-offs and go straight down the middle and put the ball in the net a good bit of times. So
and lose his mind and cost you 57 minutes in penalties and
58. Get it right.
Yeah, 58. Well, regardless, it cost you 7 goals.
Right.
The 1 or 2 that he's going down for.
Yeah.
Great highlight reels, but the risk and reward factor come into play, and I think especially Paul Day with his track record from the Edmonton days. I think he's going to be very, very careful on what he does.
Yeah.
I think he has a plan of attack. I don't think he's going to veer much from it. Because, like I said, it took Edmonton a number of years and Keenan to dig out to become the dynasty that's what we're watching in Saskatchewan now.
Yeah, and I'm wondering who. I mean, yeah, like I said, we don't know who's going to be, the protection list. We're going to have to wait until, July 2nd. You're looking at 17 days from now to see what goalies are left out there and, who they may go after. And I'm pretty sure they're going to try to grab a goalie either through free agency or in the expansion draft.
It's possible. I don't know. You're going to get the types like Giuliano being left out there. And who knows? Maybe the scenery will be a change of scenery that'll help him.
I don't want him.
But I say that's the kind of goalie you're going to see left out there.
Right.
If you think there's going to be a Matt Mintz left out there, you're crazy.
Well, no. Well,
please ship some of that stuff over here because we could really use the painkilling.
Yeah. Well, he's him and Goodley for free agents. And Rochester has till July 2nd to sign them. After that, they're free to talk to whoever they want.
Right.
Now, I doubt very much they're going to leave.
Right, but I would give more consideration to an Angus Goodleaf than I would Don or any of that because I don't know how he would be in an entire season because we've never seen it. But as a relief pitcher, he's been lights out a number of times, saving Rochester's butts coming in for Vince. Even if it was only for a number of minutes till he gets his head back on.
And maybe with the right team and the right defense in front of him, who knows? Maybe he could be the starter.
That could well be. Very well be.
For a year or two, and you could get a goalie in the draft. That you can build your franchise around.
It's funny though because I'm not seeing many in junior that would turn my head.
Right.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm curious to see what Buffalo protects. Because if Higgins,
I'll tell you what,
if Higgins is out there,
having a really good summer so far with the Brooklyn Redmen.
Who?
Looks like Mike Poulin isn't coming there this year.
Right.
When I was inquiring about it, it seems as though now Poulin at around 32, 33, he doesn't want to play year round anymore. He actually wants to heal and have a summer with his family. Crazy, eh?
Yeah. Who would have thought, right?
So, because the question came up the other day when I was there in Brooklyn, Brooklyn, Ontario, folks. When you have Zach Higgins playing right now and playing well, because Brooklyn's jumped out to a 3-1 record so far, and the only loss actually came yesterday against Peterborough, and it was only an 8-4 loss. So they were able to shut down Peterborough pretty well too. So I think that they were tired from playing two nights earlier, and the revamped Coburg lineup gave them fits. It was an awful lot closer game than anybody would have anticipated. So I think that had a lot to do with the showing in Peterborough. So I think that they're going to be a very formidable team, giving Peterborough all they can handle down the stretch. But that being said, having Zach Higgins in net, he was doing exactly what he did when he came in with Buffalo, steadying the ship. And as a starter there, he's showing me quite a bit. He could be a goaltender. He's an NL caliber goaltender.
Right.
But as a starter, I'm starting to see that he's able to manage himself in a game. So, if it was me in Buffalo, I would be leaving Bouquet off, and I would be protecting Higgins. But like I know that they're going to be protecting Bouquet because he came in with a whole lot more fanfare, and I think they still see a whole lot of upside potential.
Yeah.
Which, to me, I still don't see it. Yeah, he had a decent year last year, the year before, and yeah, he had a good summer with smaller nets. But we saw what happened when he was playing every day, every game.
And Yeah, he should have done a lot more than what he did, but you also have to wonder about some of the aging defense on Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't think the Buffalo defense helped any.
No.
And in fact, I think it got stronger when Thriller game came back in there. And, Buffalo did a lot of things this year that made me scratch my head because it looked like they had found an answer. And Kalen Crawford was it.
Right.
And you had already given up Ryan Benesh to get him. And now, of course, you got Sean Evans, who, you can't take anything away from his production and his play and his MVP status. But with a Kalen Crawford, you have a much more level-headed individual as opposed to Sean Evans, who wants to try and draw all these 5-minute penalties by flopping all over the place.
Yeah, and sometimes
if you don't know about his flopping, you probably haven't been to a lacrosse game.
Yeah, and sometimes he gets called for his own 5-minute majors, too.
Mm-hmm. And when he loses his temper, then all things go. Then we're back in a Snyder situation where really silly things happen.
Right.
And I'll take it any single time you want to offer it to me. I'll put one of my D guys to go and mix it up with him so you both get to sit out for 2 or 5. Any day of the week, I will continually do that.
Yeah.
No problem. Because I will win that matchup every single time with them sitting in the box. And every team in the league knows it.
Yeah, I honestly think whatever goaltender's left unavailable, one of them's going to be taken, whether it's by Philadelphia or by San Diego.
Available, you mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. Whatever one's left. I meant to say unprotected instead of unavailable.
Right.
I mean, if Higgins is out there, yeah, definitely you get him. If Bouquet's out there, yeah, go for it. Maybe, building a new team, around him would do it. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
You see what can be done there. But you mentioned, we started going into the MSL here, and that's what we're going to slowly be doing now. With the NLL season being over, we now have about 17 days, 2 weeks from this Monday, when the expansion rosters will be released. Actually, all the rosters will be released, letting you know who's an unrestricted free agent, who's been franchised, who's restricted, and what comes along with that. If it's a restricted free agent and there's an offer tendered, the home team has 72 hours to match that offer. So there's, we're going to have all that coming into play in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks from then is when the expansion draft happens, where that'll be done via, conference call. Philadelphia has the first pick. Most teams can lose is 2 players. And then on August 1st or August 2nd, free agents can sign wherever they like. So there's a lot going on right now in the NLL as we wait for all this to happen. But Gary, one other big...
I was lucky enough last night to be at the Brampton game for a couple of reasons. Number one, not even pertaining to the game, we had a chance to celebrate a former player who just celebrated his 100th birthday. George Burroughs, Potsy as he's lovely known, was a goalie way back when. It's far back as 1931. And he played a number of years with both the junior and senior Excelsiors. He was interrupted for a number of years with the war. You don't hear that anymore, do you?
No.
But when he came back, he also was helped in founding a number of other starter leagues. Still has his wits about him, still has a sense of humor about him, funny as hell. And he was the star of the show last night. In fact, Jim Beltman was there last night also, and first thing he did was come up to Potsy and wish him a happy birthday. Wow. And then we had this game that was Brampton against Six Nations. Now, Six Nations has always been known to put a good team out. This year they're having all kinds of trouble. First off, Dylan Ward looks like he's going to be playing field lacrosse. He seems to be having an awful lot of fun doing that. So Angus Goodleaf is in that. But this game was a back and forth thing that had Six Nations up by a couple of goals with only about 5 minutes to go. And didn't Brampton pull out 3 goals in the last 4.5 minutes, including the winning goal with just over a minute and a half to go, to upset the Six Nations Chiefs and get their first win of the season? And I'm telling you, Brampton right now is 1-4-1, and I think the record isn't indicative of how this team plays, because they barely lost to Peterborough. They tied Coburg. They've beaten Six Nations. All their games seem to be within a goal or two. So, the Dawsons haven't come back yet. So there's a few other things coming down the pipe. So it's going to be interesting. Right now, I would, Peterborough is the number one team, but I would put a very close second to Brooklyn, and the Oakville Rock is looking very, very sharp. They've only lost once. So there's a number of I'll be at the track on Monday watching Brampton play Oakville, and it's fun watching Andrew Q and it's fun watching Ryan Benesh play for Oakville. Of course, you have the tandem in net of Nick Rose and Steve Fryer.
Right.
In net for Brampton, you have Nolan Clayton. He's the one who took the job away from our very good friend there, Tyler Carlson, and has run with it. Absolutely run with it. He is steady, and he's another one. I'm surprised that nobody from the NLL has given a look, or if they haven't really pursued or done anything with. Because I think he's a very good goalie.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can build from this win. Being in the dressing room after the game, they were elated with this win, and everybody was a part of it. You had Tyler Ferreira with 4 goals. You had Bennett Drake with 4 goals. But you had a whole bunch of unsung things, because Jordan Dance had gotten thrown out of the game because he got into a fight with Tyson Bell early on.
I saw that
lost
fight.
One of your scorers. Interesting fight, though.
Yeah.
He must have been a half difference in height. But, he held his own on that one, too. Phil Caputo from The Rock, he had a pretty good game. He had a goal and an assist. And Wayne Van Every with the winning goal. And he's been solid in every game so far for Brampton. But, Bennett Drake, he only had three goals on the game, not 4.
Oh, is that all?
And that's all. Tyler Ferrer had 4 goals and 3 assists. He was the big enchilada there.
Yeah, you're.
Oh yeah. They did very well last night. They played a strong game, and they were trying to use their speed to confuse Six Nations a little bit, force them into mistakes.
Right.
So they took it to them the first half of the first period, and then of course Six Nations, you're not going to hold them down. They have too many good players on there. You're talking about Jordan Durston, who had 4 goals and 2 assists last night. Dane Smith had 3 goals, 3 assists. Cody Jamieson with a goal and 4 assists. So, Craig Point with a goal and 2 assists. They have a pretty stacked lineup, too.
Right.
But on this night, maybe Posse had something to do with it, too. Just being motivated. Hey, they pulled off the upset, as I'd like to call it.
Right.
Beat the Six Nation Chiefs.
And while you're talking about that, I'm looking at the Peterborough game that you were talking about, where the final was 8-4.
Yeah, the only person who scored more than 1 goal in that game was Corey Small.
Right.
And he had 2 goals, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I'm also looking, because you were talking about Jake Withers.
Mm-hmm.
It must have went down to the MSL too, saying, look, just take the face-off violations. He went 12 for 13.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no denying how good a face-off man he is.
And I'm going to start calling him Jeff Snyder, the calm version.
The sane version.
It's just unreal. Yeah, it's.
But, it's you're talking. You also have Turner Evans, who's just coming off injuries, who's starting to feel it now.
Right.
Stenos is starting to do what he's doing also. So, Holden Catoni. So you have an all-star team here.
Yeah, and the GM of Peterborough is the head coach of the Philadelphia Wings.
Too, their goalie, Doug Buchan.
Yeah.
Very, very silently is he putting together a very good record, considering that both Vince and Kirk haven't been around. Vince was listed as the backup goalie in last night's game, so he's back. But Buchan, he's been playing great. 39 out of 43 saves. And he's a solid goaltender. Another one that I think people should be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, he only allowed 4 goals and.
Hell, he's 5-1 for Christ's sake. It's going to be interesting because the only loss that Peterborough has is to Oakville.
Oakville, right?
And that was a strange game too, because it was another one like the Brampton game where it came down to the very end, and they scored with very little time left and wound up winning. So, I'm telling you folks, if you're anywhere near any of these arenas, instead of paying NLL prices, you're watching the same players with the same intensity, and it's costing you $10.
Yeah.
$10 Canadian. That's about $1.42 US. So, come on down, get some souvenirs and come sit down. Believe me, there's plenty of seats because, with the exception of Peterborough, who gets about 3,000 to a game, a lot of these places are getting 100 to 150 people.
And you know what? I've been there a couple times. We were, up in Oshawa back in 2011, and just a couple years ago, we were in Oakville, and got a chance to watch Oakville play Six Nations. And back in 2011, we went to Peterborough. We saw Peterborough play Brampton. At the time, they were the Ajax Rocks. We watched them play, a game, and it's well worth it. And this coming from an American, it's very well worth it.
And for $10
to see them, yeah.
You spend more on coffee.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm looking at the standing.
Look, a latte, whatever the heck it is, is more than what a game costs.
I don't know. I don't drink coffee, so give me a tea bag. I'm happy. But I'm looking at the standings, and you got Peterborough, then you have Oakville, Brooklyn, Brampton, Six Nations, 1-4.
Yep.
And then Coburg is 0-3-1. I mean, Six Nations is only, it's early in the season, but Brampton's 1-4 also. So those 3 teams are separated by 2 points. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but to see Six Nations down like that is kind of what has me as a shock right now.
Yeah, everybody's kind of scratching their head, but you know what? It's happening.
Yeah, Peterborough, you expect to see them up at the top.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that up until now are the ones with money.
Right.
Now Brampton has some money, so I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing now that everything is finished with NLL.
Yeah, and we also heard what Brooklyn was going to be doing this year.
Yeah, but they got some of it. They didn't get all of it, right? They got Matthews back, and it is the Saskatchewan Redmen. But Priolo's still playing with the Shamrocks, and I had heard word that he was supposed to be coming back. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's something you have to.
But you the other day, it's another all-star team really, because you have Dan, for Brooklyn, you have Dan Littner, Nick Tchaikovsky, Ryan Keenan, Curtis Knight, Mark Matthews. It keeps going on. Chris Corbeil, Kyle Rubish, Suddens is there. Adrian Sorchetti is there. Austin Shanks is there, or will be there. Shane Jackson is supposed to be there. So yeah, you have a pretty big lineup there.
Big lineup, yeah. And
and they've been getting an awful lot of production from Matt Spanger and Ryan McSpedian. So, the guys who are in there to fill things are filling nets, is what they're doing.
Yeah, you mentioned Steve Priolo, and I'm looking on Victoria's lineup here, and I don't see him anywhere on here. Oh, there he is. He's wearing number 32.
That's right.
Yeah, in 5 games.
Because I've been playing this year, so I know he's there.
Yeah, 5 games, 3 goals, 1 assist right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm looking at some of the other names. It looks like Reese Dutch learned how to shoot. In 4 games, 6 goals, 19 assists. Jesse King is at 11 and 22. And then Casey Jackson, 18 and 16. Yeah, and on that team, you're looking at a whole bunch of other players. You're looking at Greg Hartnett. Let's see, Rob Hellier. Mm-hmm. He's only played in 2 games so far for them, but yeah, they have a good team this year. They're in second place. They're 4 and 2. New Westminster is at 5 and 1. Scoring 71 goals a game. 71 goals total so far.
I don't see a reason why New West doesn't be traveling here in September. I really don't see a reason why they wouldn't be.
Well, Victoria's 4 and 2. Maple Ridge is 4 and 1. So Maple Ridge looks like they have a pretty good team. They always start out this way, and then they kind of, as we like to say,
bend.
Yeah, but then you look at Burnaby right now; they're 2 and 3. And they're going to start getting their things, going. Hopefully, for their sake, for what they have. Bringing in Ethan Iannucci and having their lineup there. Nanaimo is 2 and 4. Langley, who got their second win, is now at 2 and 4. And Coquitlam is in last place at 1 and 5. So you still got about 12 games to go for most of these teams, and 6 points is not really all that much from first place to 5th and 6th. Because as we know, you get 2 points per win.
Yeah.
So anything can happen there, but you got to kind of hope. Look at New Westminster, Victoria, and if Maple Ridge holds on. Well, speaking of that, Victoria's up 2-0 on Maple Ridge right now. They're only in the first period, and New Westminster and Burnaby are tied at 1 in the first. Now, last night, Victoria beat New Westminster 12-11. As that game, New Westminster scored with like a minute 14 to go. Logan Shush scored to bring that to 12-11. But that's Alex Bouquet getting the loss there for New Westminster. And Ty Bellinger is the backup in there. So, Victoria kind of gets a little bit of an edge there. Langley edged out Coquitlam on Wednesday night. And I'm trying to see who their goalies were here. Sundar, who got the win, and Tyler Richards is the backup for them. Okay, interesting. They on all of Langley's goals, they got the goal scored by player. They don't have the person's name down. The actual person's name who scored the goals.
Really?
Yeah. It shows like their first goal of the game was scored by N player, assisted by N player and McDonald. So it's like, okay, who's it seems kind of weird because for Coquitlam, you had the players' names down. And the person called N player got the first and third star of the game. So I mean, a lot of stuff going on with the WLA, the MSL. Who knows what's going to happen there with Peterborough and Oakville, and like you said, Gary, Brampton, coming on, and of course you got the Brooklyn / Saskatchewan Redmen.
Exactly.
It's summer lacrosse is interesting. Because all these players, they go to different teams.
Well, I posted the fight of Jordan Dance and Tyson Bell. They were teammates last year on Brampton.
Right.
And now they're knocking each other's head off.
Yeah. Which, is kind of comical. Yeah, your teammates, your best friends, and all of a sudden, drop them and go. But, and same thing out west. You're talking about New Westminster. They might be coming east. They look like the team to beat when it comes time for the Man Cup. But you have the other teams that are out there that this early in the season, it's kind of hard to sit there and say this is the team that's going to do it. New Westminster always has a strong team. They always have had a strong one. There's been times where they come out of the chute real quick and then they kind of falter a little bit and then kind of drop right after that, which is something that they really shouldn't. I was say shouldn't do, but they always have problems doing it, and Victoria always seems to take advantage of it. And that's what they've they've been doing for the longest time. So you may see New Westminster and Victoria fighting for the WLA championship, and if Maple Ridge can get their hat in the ring here and not falter when playoff time comes around, it could be very interesting. And then you got to look at the other teams that are after that: Burnaby, Nanaimo, Langley, and Coquitlam. So right now it's like a 3-horse race, and it seems that way in the MSL as well. But like I said, 12 games to go. Then you have the playoffs in both before they basically meet for the Man Cup in September. So we're in June, so you're looking 3 months from now. The whole thing could change here, Gary. We can, you could see, I don't know, Coburg going up against Coquitlam for all we know.
Yeah.
I doubt that'll happen, but this is just something that you never know. But if you're out on the West Coast, go out and see these games: New Westminster, Victoria, Maple Ridge, Burnaby, Nanaimo, Langley, Coquitlam. Their prices are cheap. And same thing out, with the MSL. Everything from Brampton to Oakville to Brooklyn to Peterborough. It probably costs you more in gas to get there than it will to pay to get in.
Pretty much.
And you're going to see some great lacrosse. I mean, there's nothing you can, you can say about it. You'll get to see players that maybe, play out west, like Orion Benesh, who's now playing with Colorado. Okay, on the East Coast, you miss seeing him playing for Buffalo, or when he played for the Swarm at the time, the Minnesota Swarm before they moved, and wherever else. Charles Stone, like, oh God, I wish I could see him again. Well, here you go. Here's your chance. He's in the MSL. He's on the East Coast.
Yeah, he's playing in Oakville.
Right. So I mean, you get to see these players, and it's exciting to see. It really, really is. I mean, Gary, like you said, some places you only get about 100 to 200 people.
Yep, most places.
Yeah, but it's allowed 200 people.
Oh yeah, they're all very knowledgeable, and they know their teams and have been following their teams for years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean when we were in Oakville back in 2016, and we watched Oakville play Six Nations, I thought the roof was going to come off the track. I really did. I mean, our tournament brought in close to about 200, 250 people, counting family members that came with us. But you even take us out of that equation, those fans in there were loud. And I seen Jamie, walking around. I still remember seeing him with a smile on his face. He's happy having 100 people, 150 people in there, and they're screaming their heads off. They're cheering on the team, and it's something good. Yeah. Would you like to see 3,000 people in there? Oh, no doubt. But just seeing the people in there, and then bringing the families and the little kids, that are watching the game and watching their favorite players and things like that. It tells you that the game is growing. There's no two ways about it. So if you're out in those areas, get to a game. And that's all I really have to say about that. One quick thing, Gary, before we end. What do you take from the story that came out that the Rochester Nighthawks may be sold to the Buffalo Bandits?
Mere speculation. There's nothing, and I'll reiterate, nothing concrete about any of it.
Because the one thing that stood out to me was when they mentioned Halifax, the reason why they didn't come into the league yet was because they don't have a stable ownership. And the talk was
there's a number of reasons. We've gone over it before.
Right.
It doesn't fit into the NLL the way they want to do things right now either. Now, Saskatchewan is more open to the idea, but it's still not the way they want to do business right now. They're looking for NHL, NBA ownerships that own their arenas. They're looking for that kind of group where they can actually pull in from the season ticket holder base as well as being not just a tenant in the arena.
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting at, because they were talking about with the stable ownership, with Steyer selling it to the owners of the Bandits. He would head up the Halifax team, which would then open up the door for Joseph Tsai, who is now the owner of, as we know,
that door's open. It doesn't matter what Stars does.
Right, and have him get a team.
The owner can own more than one team.
Right.
Tsai can own Brooklyn. Tsai can own San Diego. Tsai can own the one on the moon. Tsai can own the one in Mexico City. It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with this stuff here. He's going to wind up owning two teams. There's no two ways about it. The league is going to be smart enough to take advantage of the billions of dollars he's worth.
Yeah, and that second team would be out in Long Island.
Mm-hmm. Which, again, has the NBA in there, right?
Right, the Brooklyn Nets.
Right.
So it would be basically in Brooklyn, but they would probably use the arena out in Long Island.
They're gonna move Brooklyn again. So
right.
New Jersey, Brooklyn, Long Island, whatever.
Right. So the story came out. I mean, it sounds like
it's speculative.
Right.
Nobody from the Bandits had anything to say about it. Nobody from the Nighthawks had anything to say about it. When I was sitting at a round table with all the inside people, there wasn't a word about it. Nothing. I'm going still with the speculative.
Speculative, right.
It's prodding and poking and hoping.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of substance to it.
No, but I mean, if you look at it, it almost makes sense.
There's a lot of things that almost make sense. But
right.
Again.
Oh yeah. I know. I'm just looking at it to where you would have a stable ownership in Halifax if that was to happen. So.
Certainly. I'm the one who brought it up way back when, and I still think it's going to be another Saskatoon when it eventually does happen. But I don't think it's now.
No. And you don't know what's going to happen with, Georgia down the line, if they're going to end up moving or,
I would think that I'm not sure about the Vancouver thing, and again, we're looking at Seattle coming into the NHL, so that one's in play also, and that goes more to what Govett was hinting to last year, especially with a revamped arena and an NHL team going to be there. Dallas is another one that we were talking about, which again, with Mark Cuban, it fits in perfectly again with what the league is talking about, with the Mavericks down there, and an owner with more money than God to run it, as well as dig into the season ticket holder base to make sure that arena is at least mostly full.
Right.
Where the revenue stream is high. Because that's what they're looking at. They're trying to avoid the things in Vancouver and Georgia, where again, I'm thoroughly convinced that Arlotta uses that as a tax break to some of his other businesses, and would be very happy if there wasn't a soul in the building. And just writes it off.
Right.
So, take it for what it is. Personally, I'd love to see it go in. I'd love to see it go into Halifax, but I don't see it. I just don't. Not with what the league wants to do, and how firm they've been on it. And we're only in year one of a 5-year program, according to Sagaitis.
Right.
And we're talking about one place. He's mentioned that there's been at least 30 cities in play.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of them out there.
It's time to weed out and time to look at what exactly the league wants.
Right, and
they're going to stick with that mantra. And let's also remember that Edmonton's coming.
Right.
Whenever they're ready, the doors will be wide open.
The doors are wide open for Edmonton to come walking back into the league too. And and the thing that's funny to me is that Halifax already put in for their name, the copyright name, and they already got it, and that was back in January.
Yeah, and Boston did too, but guess what?
They
don't know about Boston either.
Yeah. So it's just, it's all, like you said, Gary, speculative and just kind of like a sit and wait. Right now we're looking at the 2018-2019 season. We now have 11 teams when you add in Philadelphia and San Diego. Right now, from now until July 2nd, only the parent team of the players can sign their free agents. Once July 2nd hits, the rosters will freeze, and the free agent, unrestricted free agents, restricted franchise players, and the expansion draft rosters to be picked from will be released. July 16th, we have the expansion draft, Philadelphia picking first. Then, between July 2nd and August 1st, all free agents can talk to any team that they wish. Same thing with the teams can talk to those players. And on August 2nd, somewhere around there, give or take a day, free agency opens and players can be signed.
Here's a question for you. Philadelphia picks first.
Right.
What do they pick? Not who. What do they pick first?
You got to see what's out there first. You have to see what's out there.
What would you be looking for as your main thing that would be your first pick?
Well, first I would want to see if there was a goalie, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like I said, if there's somebody like Zach Higgins out there, or Alex Bouquet, I'm taking them right off the bat.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm taking them because you need to get a solid goaltender. You can't hope to maybe get one in free agency and then maybe find one in the draft to groom. Okay? Grab that goalie right away. If it's somebody like Higgins or Alex Bouquet or even Agnes Goodleaf, grab them. You don't want to see one of them going out west. Okay? You do that.
Well, you see a Steve Fryer in there, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be not protecting Dylan Ward.
Right. I mean, it all depends. Like, I don't know if Fryer is a free agent or if he's under contract. That's the thing. You have to wait and see who's, Well,
that's where the July 2nd thing comes in, right?
Right. We're over here talking about, I would, if Alex Bouquet's out there, I would take him. Well, how do we know that? Now, I'm just saying this, that Buffalo don't franchise Alex Bouquet. And then so much for that. I'm
fairly certain on this one.
Oh yeah, I doubt it too. But I'm just saying that as far as for the goaltending, like that. Like I've heard Kevin Crowley was franchised for New England. Even though he was supposed to be a free agent. So
yeah, like I said, I heard the same thing.
Yeah. So now I'm going to wait until the rosters come out on the 2nd, and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see who's out there, and then I'm going to say, okay, if I go goaltender, Zach Higgins, who do I think San Diego is going to pick, so I could see who my third pick is going to be. Because you might be saying, "Ooh, I would like to get Higgins and Brad Cree. Get my face-off specialist and my goaltender." But maybe San Diego might take Cree. Who you don't know. So you got to look and see what they're going to go with, and then take it from there. Maybe you go goaltender and then you try to get a scorer.
First thing I would build outward. Goalie, defenseman, because I'm sure I can draft forwards.
Yeah, well, you have to see how many defensemen are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have, two defensemen.
I'm not passing that up for nothing.
Well, yeah, if there's a top-notch defenseman that you consider he's top above all others, you get him. But if there's two of them out there, and San Diego picks one, okay, yeah, you take the other one. You're happy. You go from there. I mean, if you can get both of them, hey, do it. But yeah, you definitely want to look at a goaltender first, unless, like I said, on July 2nd, free agents can talk to anybody. There could be a free agent goaltender out there.
Right.
And you could have like a verbal agreement with them. Saying, hey, look, August 2nd rolls around. We want you. Here's what we're going to offer you. And you could have like a verbal with them where okay, hey, I don't have to worry about going for a goalie in the expansion draft.
Yeah.
I got my goalie in free agency. I know that. He's in my back pocket right now. And then you start going defense, offense, and you do it that way. And then maybe you throw in a backup goaltender if there's one, still out there in the expansion draft. But yeah, if Higgins or Bouquet's out there, you got to go for him. You have to. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm pretty sure San Diego might do the same thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And real quick, I heard through a rumor mill that Zach Greer is contemplating retirement.
After the year he just had, not a bad choice.
Yeah. So, we always talked about, Zach Greer's left unprotected. Most likely San Diego would get him because he, works out there. And I heard now he's working down in Dallas, so who knows? He may be retiring. But we'll find all that out on July 2nd, and then, Gary, like I said, we could sit here and try to figure out who would go where. Try to play GM right now and, pick it out. And I'm sure with the minds that San Diego has, with Governor as the president and Patrick Merrill, GM head coach, and Shooter as the assistant coach, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And I would not be surprised one bit if the San Diego team puts a team together that can possibly I'm saying, give Saskatchewan a run for their money. I mean, I'm saying this a week after the championship, but who knows? You look at the lacrosse minds that are on that team right now. Why not? And they're picking first in the entry draft. So you just you kind of go from there. Maybe they're the Vegas Golden Knights of the NLL next year, or it could be Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You got mind of Paul Day and his GM coach and assistant GM of Landon Miller. Everybody knows about him. They would know that Miller and Day were the assistants on the Rochester Nighthawks during that historic three-peat. So you got, some minds going there. And, Paul Day hasn't even picked his assistant coach yet. So there's still some, something going on there. So who knows who's going to, come in. So we're in for a fun time. I know that. And then, of course, like before, got combines and everything else. But next week, Gary, we'll talk more about the MSL, WLA. You're obviously going to be going to a lot of these games.
Yeah.
And we'll start seeing the NLL players starting to filter back into the league. Some of them may have taken a vacation or, time to just heal, from the bumps and bruises. And we'll get to see, what happens where Peterborough is, where Oakville is, WLA, see if New Westminster and Victoria keep up their pace as the summer goes and we get closer to the drafts and everything else. We start another season. And a Philadelphia team that comes back into play along with San Diego, and we have 11 teams and a lot of new rivalries and a lot of old ones get renewed, which means a lot of you people from Toronto come back down to Philly for some tailgating again. Believe me, we miss those.
Already planning it.
We miss them, believe me. Coming down in April when the sun was out, oh yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So he's out in Toronto and here in Philly, just to let you know, when the weather starts getting a little on the warm side, after the winter break, in April or the end of March, beginning of April, there's a lot of tailgating that'll go on 4, 5, 6 hours before the game, and when our friends from Toronto come down, oh, it's a blast. It is a blast. I mean, we used to have the owners coming out to party with us a little bit before the game. So, we got all that to look forward to.
Definitely.
So, Gary, again, great show. Great video out there in Saskatchewan. I know you had a great time with Kelvin, with Grandma Rush. Again, happy birthday, Grandma. I know it was great to see you holding up that trophy. I know you loved every moment of it. Cherish it. Hey, fantastic. Saskatchewan.
To say thank you to Evan Schemenauer for all the hospitality he gave me while I was there. I don't have words for it. He's amazing.
Yeah, and
they're awesome.
And Guy, real quick, before you started staying in Saskatchewan, have you ever met Evan prior to? No. Okay, that tells you what the lacrosse family is. Okay, Gary traveled to Saskatchewan, needing a place to stay, instead of a hotel. Evan, saw him online. They talk online or whatever, and said, "Hey, look, when you get here, you have a place to stay. You can stay with me." Never met the man before. Never. He opened up his door and let him in. And let him stay. How many people do you know would do that? Especially in this day and age.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He don't know you from Adam. He said, you know what? You're a lacrosse fan. You love the game. I love the game. Here you go. I have a spare bedroom for you, or, you're happy on the sofa. Here you go. It's a sofa bed, whatever. He opened up his house, put a roof over your head for the time that you were there, where you didn't have to spend money in a hotel.
Exactly.
This is why I say this is all one big lacrosse family. I would do the same thing for anybody that was coming in. If Kelvin was coming in here to Philly, he wanted a place to say, hey, come on. I have 2 recliners, 2 sofas down in the basement, the man cave. Hey, they're comfortable. Trust me, I've slept on them enough. So,
always great to get along, to get with everybody from Saskatchewan and just chat and talk lacrosse.
Yeah.
Mark from the fan page there as well. It's great sitting down and just talking. It's fantastic. They're such an enlightened crowd. They know exactly what they're talking about. So it's great to sit down with them.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time seeing them in Rochester. You know, the group that came up or came over. You know, they were fantastic. You know, I talked to a few of them. I mean, it was great. It really was. The Rochester people loved them as well. You know, everybody, you know, really got along. So, again, Saskatchewan, congratulations. Championship number 3 in the last 4 years. I say this humorously, but cherish it because guess what? I know Gary would say the same thing, but he would add Toronto into it. Philly's coming to get it for next year. And I'm pretty sure, Gary, you're figuring the same thing with Toronto. Toronto's coming to get it.
We made any moves, so.
Yeah, but still, deep down, the homers that we are.
Oh, yeah.
We both want the cup for our team. We want to get to that number 7 first. So, with that being said, for Gary Grube at laxphilly.com, again, go to laxphilly.com, go to inlacrossewetrust.com for a ton of lacrosse coverage, whether it be MSL, WLA, NCAA, high school, anything at all that's going on out there. For up-to-date trades, rumors, whatever, go to those 2 sites. There's a lot of good information out there. Okay? So, Gary Grube at Lax Philly. I'm Rocco Granato at inlacrossewetrust.com. We thank you for listening. Again, Saskatchewan Rush. This one's for you.